Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Sharp YouTube channel. And in this video, you'll be learning that how you can protect certain routes or certain screens in your SwiftUI application. So what does that even mean, protecting certain screens? Well, what we're trying to do is when you look at this view, you can see home, my products, cart, and profile. Now I'm currently on the home screen. I can see the home screen. But if I try to go to my products, you can see that it's locked because I'm not logged in. So I need to log in. And the same goes with cart and the profile. All right. Now, once I log in, now I can see my products, I can see the cart, and I can see the profile. And I can log out again. And now back again, I have to log in again. So this means that we're protecting the routes or we're protecting the screen on the client side. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. Now, keep in mind that we are not going to be using JWT token and all that complicated stuff. I'm just going to show you kind of like overall picture of how you can accomplish it. But if you want to learn that how you can do JWT authentication and how you can perform the real deal, then you can go to azamsharp.school, click on courses, and here's the brand new course that I'm currently working on. This is the full stack e-commerce application. And in this course, I'm going to show you all the necessary steps of performing JWT authentication. I'm going to show you how to set up your Postgres database. We're going to use Express. We're going to build the client. We're going to build the server. We're going to use the SQLized ORM. I mean, this course is going to be like a lot of fun, and you're going to become a full stack developer because you're working on the back end and you're working on the client, which is SwiftUI. So this is a great course. I'm still working on it, so it's going to be available really soon. You can see most of the sections, I'm still working on it, but a lot of sections are available. So you can already get started with it. All right. Okay, so now let's go to the code and see that how we can build the route protection or screen protection in SwiftUI. Okay, so I've created over here a brand new SwiftUI application. Now, the first thing I want to do over here is to create the tab views. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with the tab views. And I'm going to copy some code. I mean, we're not going to create the tab view complete from scratch. And then you'll have a better idea of what's going on. So I'll add a app screen. This will have all the different options for my tab. So you can see home, my products, cart, and profile. And this is case iterable, which means that I can iterate over these cases. I can also extend this, so I can call an extension. I can write an extension on the app screen, and I can return a labels. So labels basically will simply be label view that is going to consist of a text home and some sort of a system image. Okay. Now you can create your tab views any way you want, but this is usually how I build it, but you can use anything you want. Next, I'm going to build the destination. Destination simply means that when you click on a certain item of the tab or certain option, where would it actually go? So I'm going to go ahead and do switch on the self, which basically means I'm switching on the app screen. And now I can say home. When I say home, take me to, let's say, it doesn't really matter, I guess, where it takes me. Navigations, I don't even think we need navigation stack. So I'm just going to say home. Okay. And for certain other cases, we can build these things. So let's see over here. Case for my products. So if somebody selects my products, I'm just going to say my products. If somebody selects cart, obviously you're not going to be using text views over here. You'll be using the real views, right? Like a profile screen and all that stuff. There we go. And we're going to mark this with view builder because this property is going to return a particular view. Now we have our app screen. So we should be able to use it. Let's go to the content view. And we can create a tab view over here. Now the tab view, when you're creating it, requires a selection and the content. The selection basically means that whichever tab that you have selected. So instead of using a constant value, let's do the app screen part. So that will be our selection. So now I can, in the selection, I can pass in selection. All right. Now what should I pass in the content? Well, in the content, and what we can do is we can actually remove most of this stuff. There we go. And use a trailing closure. Over here, I can use a for each loop, and I can go over app screen dot all cases because it is case iterable. Screen in screen dot destination. This is the actual screen. We're going to put the tag, which will be screen as app screen. And what else we need? We need a tab item, obviously. So we're going to put the tab item, which will be whatever the label is. So hopefully this is going to allow us to create tabs. And now you can see that the tabs are actually being displayed. If I go to a certain tag, my products, cart, profile, you can see that I can definitely go to these different tabs, right? So it looks like they're working. And you can change these things to point to your own views or own screens. Like this will be cart screen, this will be like a profile screen. I'm just using text over here, but I think you get the idea. Now what we want to do is for these three, my products, cart, and profile, these are protected routes or protected screens. You can't just go there. You have to be logged in. And you have already seen this kind of behavior and scenario. If you download Airbnb app, you can actually see that. All right. If you go to trips or profile or any of those different screens where requires authentication, it's going to show you some sort of a login screen. So we're going to build the same thing. Keep in mind that we're not really going to be performing actual authentication, JWT, all that stuff. I'm just going to keep it very simple, and it will be kind of like a placeholder that you can fill in your details. Or if you want to learn, then you can obviously take my course in which I'm going to show you the complete server side and the client side how to do JWT authentication. Okay. So the way that we will do it, and inspired from React, is we are going to create a view modifier, and then eventually we'll be able to do something like this, requires authentication. I think this looks really nice because on individual items I can say this requires authentication. All right, and this is inspired from React. I'm not sure what it's actually called, but let's say protecting client-side routes in React. I'm not sure if it's going to show something like that. Sometimes it's just hard to see those things. Route, private route, okay, kind of like this, I guess, private route, but I've done it in a different way. But that's the whole point, that you're passing the dashboard and it's in the private route. Now we can use a higher order view or a higher order screen also, where you pass these different text views to another view. You can do that, that's fine. But there is no need for it at this particular point. So what we want to do is to just create a separate view modifier. So I'm going to create a view modifier. I'll call this requires authentication. So this is the name of our view modifier. All right. And let's go ahead and create it. The first thing we'll do is import SwiftUI struct requires authentication view modifier. So we're going to use view modifier. Now, since we're conforming to view modifier, we must implement the body, right? So we'll say body. I don't know what's going on over here. What's going on? Why doesn't it like it? Oh, view modifier, not view builder. Body, not this body, this one. There we go. And we can just return content for now. So content over here will be the content, the view on which the required authentication modifier is applied on. So in this case, in our case right now, if I go and apply it on the text view, dot requires authentication, then text will be the content. Okay, so what should we do over here, right, in the body? So over here, we need to check if the person is authenticated or not. So I'm going to go ahead and say group if is loading. And when I say that we're going to check over here if the person is authenticated, I don't actually mean that you're going to put business logic in there. All right. Now you will move the business logic in some sort of a token validator. But since right now we don't have keychain, we don't have any tokens because we have to generate JWT token, I'm just going to show you the best we can do right now. But eventually I'll also write some comments so that you know that in the actual app this will be a little bit different. So if it is loading, which is, we need to add a loading state. There we go. If it's loading, then we can say progress view. And we can say loading. Okay. Else, if the user ID is not equal to nil, if it's not nil, then we'll show you the content, whatever you're looking for, or else we will show you the login screen. Now, there is no such thing as login screen. There is no such thing as user ID. User ID is something that we can kind of store in the app storage. So we'll get it from there. Again, this is all part of authentication. Once you're authenticated, you will store the token in the keychain, and you can store the user ID and maybe even username in the user defaults or app storage or using app storage. So that's what we're doing over here. The login screen, well, we don't really have a login screen right now. So let me go ahead and create a login screen. I'm going to go to the content view and create a login screen. Login screen. The reason that I'm adding all this code inside the same file, content view, is so that I can easily give it to you in a gist. All right. If you are working on a real app, you should be creating separation, like different group, different folder for screens, and all of these different things. Let's go back to required authentication. So the body looks okay, but when this view is loaded, when it appears, we can call a function called check authentication. Now, although its name is check authentication, again, it's not this does not really mean that this is where we will be. This is kind of like a helper function. Okay. So let me go ahead and write over here, private var, check authentication. Now this function is going to use the token validator. All right. So we are going to, I'm going to write it over here because we don't have keychain. We're not really going to do the actual, JWT validation, right? JWT authentication. That's going to take some time to set up. But if you were doing it, you would get the token from keychain. So probably it will be like this: token equals to keychain.get JWT token. Obviously, I'm just writing code over here. It may not work. And then we can kind of like, if the token is valid, if token validator dot validate token, then you can do something. So it will be something like this in your actual application. But right now we don't have the token. We don't have all of those things. So whichever way you want to perform authentication or check validation, I would probably say check validation, perform authentication. Probably I should name it differently, right? But I guess we don't have any other name because we're not really doing anything over here. All right. So I'm going to check if the user ID is not equal to nil, then we're going to set something. If it is not nil, so if it's nil, then its loading will be false. Actually, in both cases, it will be false anyways. So it will be is authenticated. Oh, we don't have it authenticated. So let's go ahead and add that flag. Let's go ahead and add is authenticated. Is authenticated. Are we even using is authenticated? We're probably not even using is authenticated. So I'm wondering, this whole function, does it even make sense to do anything with the function, right? I mean, we're just checking, we're just doing is authenticated, but we're not even using is authenticated over here. So I would actually just remove it. I mean, we're not really, that's a problem. I mean, I've already implemented this in a real app, but now I've completely trimmed it down so much that I'm having a hard time to remove things to show you that how you can implement it. All right. Now, another thing to keep in mind is in the actual app, I'm actually performing token. I'm checking the token if it's expired or not on the client side. But that's not enough. So you always have to make sure that you check the token, the validity of the token on the server side also. All right. So you can check for the expiration date of the JWT token on the client side to provide better user experience. But you must always check for the token on the server side. You cannot just rely on the client side. All right. Okay. So over here is, I guess it's okay. Now we can go and probably try to use this. In order to use this, what I can do is I can extend my view. There we go. So that I created a small function, extension function on there, requires authentication, that I can now use on all of my views. So let's go and go to the view and try to use it. So I'm going to go over here, and whichever option over here you want to, right here, whichever option or view or screen you want to protect, you can simply say requires authentication. Requires authentication. Requires authentication. All right. So now if I go there, oops, okay, so it's loading is actually not getting false. Probably I should get that. Why is this loading? Okay, so is loading is not getting false. Yeah, that's a problem. Let's go ahead and do on appear. On appear. I guess on appear we can do something. Let's go and say is loading equals to false, I guess. We can do that. Okay, we can try with that. All right. And login screen. Okay, so right now it's actually, yeah, you can see that, right? It's all of this is protected. It's taking me to the login screen, this one. All of these things are protected. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button over here that will allow me to log in. So I can say login. There we go. And once you log in, we are just going to put the value in the user ID. Again, you know, this is like a fake login that I'm doing. So I'm just going to say user ID equals to whatever, John Doe. All right. And we can even go to the profile part like this one, right? And change that later. Okay, let's see. So if I go to my products, you can see it's login. If I log in, I can see the products. Great, right? I can see the cart. I can see my profile. Now, one more fun thing we can do is if we go to the profile screen, let me actually copy the profile screen because it's going to be so simple. You'll be able to understand it. The profile screen will simply have the access to the app storage and access to the logout button. When you click the logout button, it's going to just set the value to be nil. So this means you're logged out. Okay, let's check it out. I'm going to go to profile. Probably actually have to fix it over here, right? Profile screen. So here's the profile screen. Now if I go to the profile screen, I can see the logout button. I can log out, and again it's asking me to log in. And now I'm logged out from all of these protected views. So cart, logged out. My products logged out. Home, oh yeah, home works. Home is not protected. Home is anyone can visit home. My products, cart, okay, login. Oh, now I can see the cart because now I'm logged in. All right. So this is how you can build protected routes or protected screens in SwiftUI. Now keep in mind, obviously, when we are using this require authentication part, it's all dummy right now. That's why I'm writing it over here. That it's all dummy. And the most important part over here is also that you can check for the expiration date of the token on the client side. If that's okay, you can do that. It will provide them a much nicer user experience because you don't have to make the request to the server. But that does not excuse you from making sure that the server or the token is actually authenticated and it is valid and verified on the server side. So whenever your application is going to be asking for some sort of a resource that, hey, I want my products, hey, I want to see my card item, I want to update my profile, I want to do this, I want to do that, all of those are going to return you some sort of a protected resource like data coming from the server. And those, every single time those requests that you're making to the server, you have to check the token that is being sent, because somebody can tamper with the token, but if they tamper with the token, maybe they can access the client side, but guess what? It's not going to display any data because the resource is still protected on the server side. And I'll become, discussing that, all of that stuff in this course. And that's why I think this course is just going to be so important, because most of the iOS developers I know, they're just fixated on the iOS world. Oh, I'm just going to learn iOS, but not server side, the backend. This is your opportunity to learn the backend side using Node.js, Express.js, Postgres, SQL, and SQLize as ORM. So a lot of stuff. All right. And this course is currently in development, and new sections are obviously released when they're done. But we have a long way to go, and I'm already having so much fun with this course. So that's pretty much it. You can download the code. It will be in the gist. And hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and share it, like it. Thank you so much.